Welcome to our 5th episode of Nerd of Mouth. 5th episode, gold medal foil cover edition.
Wolverine hologram on the front of each one.
Yeah, and special Shatterstar trading card when you open it.
Not to mention a sheet of Marvel Masterpieces Series 3.
Yeah, oh God. Watch how much you need Joe Jusko to come back.
Jusko.
Oh, Jusko. We're gonna start off by a little sad / very happy. Wizard, the Guide to Comics, is dead.
Long live Wizard, the Guide to Comics.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna find a Black Lantern ring and come back. It's gone.
The website is going to come back, and if there's one thing the world's been needing, it's a website about comic books.
That's what's funny. Is like, so they're still having a website. Like, yeah, we know what killed us. Here, look. I mean, because that's that. I mean, I think that's the biggest problem. Is Wizard. I'm very sentimental towards it. I grew up reading it. I remember the first issue I had.
The stat is it used to sell better than the comics it was covering.
Yeah. But it was also covering Milestone, so it wasn't hard. I remember the first issue that I ever read was issue 9 with a Bart Sears Venom cover. Who Bart Sears did a lot of their Brood and Babe stuff, but he also did this Venom cover, and I remember I loved it, and it was great for years. They had the artist competition. My favorite segment ever, Mort of the Month.
I don't remember that one.
That was when they would talk about a different horrible character every month. So they'd have like Turner D. Century and any Legionnaire that isn't the 5 Legionnaires that you know.
Bouncing Boy.
Yeah. Pharaoh Lad. Yeah.
Matter Eater thing.
Yeah. There is the Matter Eater Lad.
Yes.
So you had like all these fun things in it. The letters page was great, especially when Jim McLaughlin was doing it. He did it for the longest, but he had like a sense of humor. Like there was a time like in the mid to late 90s when Wizard was really funny and fun, and they had the CBIQ and different like top 10s where they would make fun of stuff. And then, like, somewhere along the line, in the early 2000s, I wanna believe around the time the 9/11 Spider-Man issue came out, like when
where were you when Wizard got crappy? Where were you when it started covering movies?
Where were you when they went to the set of Battlestar Galactica for 18 pages and didn't even have a comic to talk about that month? So then, like, around then, like, I remember there was a letters page when someone was like, how come you don't do, like, Mort of the Month? They did comic book reviews, which were really great.
Oh, absolutely.
They would grade them, and they would say what comics were bad. And then Wizard said... Like, I wouldn't say 9/11. It was like around the time of the Spider-Man movie and all that. When the movies got really popular, like you said, they covered movies. And Wizard said, well, now with new fans coming in, watching, these movies, we want to be more of a promotional, positive tool. And so it wasn't negative at all anymore. And it was horrible because then all you had was a previews magazine.
Yeah.
And there was no opinion. There was no thought behind it.
I remember the last issue. I think I picked up one recently and was just disappointed by it. But the one where they covered the Superman Returns, and it just hyped it up so much and was like, oh, this is amazing. Bryan Singer's a genius. And then, like, when I finally saw Superman Returns, I was like, oh, all credibility is gone.
Yeah, well, you know what it is that, like, I remember, like, in the 90s, like, when I read it a lot, like, they would have, like, a 2 or 3 page, like, feature on Steel or Batman and Robin. And, like, I get it that that's what they were trying to do, and they would, like, talk to the producers. But then when the movie sucked, they would tell you they sucked. And now the difference is they still do the features and the glossy, like, look how great this is, but there's no aftermath.
Also, the fact is that now that all the creators are on Twitter and all the websites came up, it's just easier and faster and better ways to get news and exclusives and all these.
Everything they had is like the price guide is obsolete because you could look that all up online. And
also, comics aren't worth anything.
Well, then and the CGC really changed everything.
Oh, yeah,
so there's no specific price for comic books anymore. You used to be able to pay like Sleepwalker 20 cents, and now you're like Sleepwalker with a 9.8, 23 cents. And so like they lost that. They lost the humor because like. Well, one,
Toy
they
Fair
threw it
kind of
out.
just spun off into its own thing.
Yeah, I mean...
God, the custom figures, I remember, was one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, I have repainted this Toy Biz Wolverine to be a Death's Head.
Yeah, I remember I found out who Rorschach was in like an old wizard by seeing him remade. Like, it was a Rorschach and a Dr. Manhattan that someone had used, like, 2 different Toy Biz Silver Surfers. And I was like, wow, I had no idea who those characters were. I was like 9 or 10 at the time.
Can I tell you what my favorite thing was? And it's like amazing is I absolutely, as a child, I really thought I was going to be a comic book artist. Like I was 8 years old and just scribbling on construction paper and thought I was going to be the next, let's say, Jim Lee. More appropriately, probably Ron Lim. Probably would have been the next Ron Lim. But
at least you know who you are.
And I thought the envelope drawings in the letters column was the pinnacle of human visual achievement. I would spend hours just picking them over. Meanwhile, like I've looked at old issues now when I've come home and like ruffled through old comics. They are terrible. Even the best ones just make God,
some of them were great. And, I mean, some of those submissions
they
were
make
fantastic.
Rob Liefeld look like Pablo Picasso.
But when they would have the contest every month where you draw the covers, like
yeah.
And then you could even see like looking at like old Wizard and like you could read like Wizard like an issue every 5 years and just see like the complete change in what it became. And it's like remember like in the first like 50 or 60 issues when they would do the but they would have drawing board, I think it was, where they would have like anyone could submit and they would show like the best like 15 covers. They always incorporated the Wizard purple star cape and hat, and then like Wizard even got rid of that. Like, they're like, nope, we're not doing this anymore. Like they just kept changing, and so it's dead, but it's been dead for years. And I would still read it every once in a while because like my library would carry it. But the idea of paying for it, like I think I read one issue in the last year, and it was just it's
empty. What
empty.
they should have done is they shouldn't have sold out like Nintendo Power, which has stayed pure all these years.
Nintendo Power is the worst video game. It's a commercial.
I know.
You can't have journalism. Like,
and I had a commercial.
Evil Oil Company can't produce their own newspaper saying Evil Oil Company is great.
Now I gotta say, my Marcus Parks, producer here.
Yeah.
One thing that I always look forward to every year was the Halloween issue.
That was fun when people would do their own costumes.
When people would do their own costumes, like because now you get all these websites, you see all that, but that was the one time of the year that you could really see people like making their own. It was like seeing like real life superheroes. It was great.
Yeah, I always imagine like how angry those people would be. When they lost, like when you're like second place and your Man Thing loses to someone's Wendigo, like what the fuck, man? Look at the stitching. Remember another thing.
I spent 15 hours on this Bizarrenage costume, and you're telling me I lost to a Wonder Woman? That's clearly a prefabricated Wonder Man costume. She's just pretty.
Yeah, but remember in the mid-'90s, and this was great about Wizard, when they would have that Halloween issue, they always had the thought balloons.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Yeah, those were awesome, the captions and stuff. And then that just left, and then it was just the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But like having like I felt like Wizard was my friend, and we were making fun of like supernatural mid-'90s Bernie Wrights and Punisher together and stuff like that.
There is a certain thing there where a lot of 90s fandom magazines had that kind of, like, you knew the editorial staff and it had a unique voice and it was really chummy about it. And then somewhere after, like, I guess on the eve of Maxim, I guess I'll call it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like everything became slicker and like
hotter.
More
the word
commercial.
hot all the time. I mean, it's like Wizard. Like they would just talk about Smallville every month. And I don't have any nerd friends that talk about Smallville ever. You're a bad nerd friend, Wizard. Fuck you. Yeah, I mean, it was just stuff like that. You remember my favorite video game magazine? We were talking about Nintendo Power and all that. Remember Game Players?
Game Pro?
No,
Game Pro.
No. Game Pro sucked.
Electronic Gaming Monthly?
Game Pro would have like Toadman and like all these weird names for reviewers. But
I loved Toadman and Dan Shoo.
Yeah, Dan Shoo was at Electronic Gaming Monthly with Sushi X.
Oh, Sushi X.
Yeah, but remember there was a magazine, Game Players. It was around in the 90s. If anyone remembers this, talk to me about it. So I'm not just rambling here. I'm rambling here anyway, but I'll be nostalgically rambling if someone gets this. But it was great. It was this video game magazine, and it was the most creative, fun video game magazine ever. And all the reviewers went by their real names. They would like rip apart stuff. They had a section which was like submit your own video game ideas, and all sorts of like their letters page was really funny.
I got to look this up. Here's something I wanted to ask you, Mike, is now that Wizard is gone and everyone's kind of moved on to the internet, what's your favorite comic website? Where do you go to get your news and stuff?
I go to, I guess, I don't have one really. Like, I mean, I'll read reviews on IGN and, Spider Fan, for Spider-Man stuff. I'll go to different places for different things, but there's not that one that I have to check every day that has the sense of humor that I like. They all of them seem too flashy to me. We were talking, a few episodes ago about Forbidden Planet, which is what Wizard became.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you.
Old Wizard was Jim Hanley's universe, and there's no comic book website that has that old, long box feeling. They're all flashy, and it's all like everyone who designs a comic book website acts as if they have like $100 to spend every week. There's no like heart or humor behind any of them that I know of. I mean, if you could recommend me one.
True hardcore fans might actually berate me for this, but I've been a fan of ifanboy.com for a while.
Okay.
It has a lot of that personality-driven community aspect to it. A lot of really good articles, and it's kind of replaced for me the void that Wizard left in my life after the great crapification of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a while now. We still have to talk about Spider-Man Turn Off in the Dark. We'll have a special guest with us right after the break.
Right after the break. Runs a show called Too Cool for School on Fridays, and we have him for none of those reasons.
Yeah.
We have him because
he is a member of an elite brotherhood.
Yes.
A chosen few who will spread to future generations the tale of an event so mind-boggling.
Well, he did something last week that I did last night.
Right.
Which is see Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Yes. Wow. See and experience. And
you know what's funny is that they're gonna take a clip of this of just me going, see Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
I love to hate it.
Yeah.
Nerd of Map says it's a show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to chatting about the quote unquote show.
Now, I literally am in awe of you two because there's no way this thing can run. Like, it's too expensive. It's too disastrous. Some actor's just going to break his face. Like, do you remember what the actual figure was? How many months in a row it has to sell out to earn back the...
it's a $65 million production. It cost about $1 million a week to run.
A week to run, right.
And I think it makes about like $1 million a week. So it's I mean, you know what though? You see every cent of that $65 million on stage.
You do. They do. They throw everything up on stage.
Yeah.
You have to give them that. That's for sure.
Here's some things I wanted to ask you guys about the show.
Shoot.
You got alternating between you guys. Describe the plot in 4 sentences. Mike, you start.
Okay, do you want me to do one sentence and
Yes.
him one? Okay. All right. Uncle Ben gets hit by a fucking car.
Peter Parker, not the main protagonist.
Main villain steals 50 pairs of shoes. Yes!
Carnage is effeminate.
So there isn't a plot?
Okay, I'll say this.
Yeah,
I'll say
Mike,
this
start her
about
off,
that.
man.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
It's literally like there's a first act and a second act. And the first act is pretty linear.
Yeah.
It's like you started off, you have these four kids who are, they have the Greek chorus, they're the geek chorus. They're four, remember that
Now,
Legends
what did
of
they
the Dark Knight episode?
What did
where,
they dress the geek chorus as?
It's hipsters.
Them, hot topic-y.
Yeah, they're wearing, like kitten,
The girl has like the kitten thing that Molly wears in Runaways. You guys all know that, right?
Yeah, the kitten ski mask with
Yeah.
every little hat. Yeah,
So
backpacks.
Because when I first heard
Tight
geek
jeans.
chorus, I had visions of like pocket protectors, and I was like filled with rage. But
Yeah,
No, not the true geek, the new hip geek.
No, don't worry.
Broadway.
Not the kind of geeks that any of us could get cast for. We
Right.
will never play these parts.
If they were real geeks, they would have spoken up and been fired a long time ago.
Yeah, they're all thin and attractive,
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
shaven,
I saw
and
right
so
through 'em.
none of us.
Yeah, so go ahead, Mike.
But yeah, so they start off talking about Spider-Man and then they go through the whole origin.
Right.
And then he basically, it's kind of, similar where they go to Oscorp where this is what Norman Osborn sounds like.
Yeah, it was like Foghorn Leghorn. It was like,
Foghorn Osborn.
I say, I'm experimenting, I say.
I say, he's a chicken hobgoblin.
now what we got here, this is here pumpkin bone.
Exactly, you nailed it.
We got all these razor bats and a little glitter finger. You can really taste the glitter. He kind of sounds like Kenneth Branagh on the Wild Wild West.
Right. Oh my God. Exactly.
So, Peter Parker's at Oscorp, and he gets bit by the spider, and then there's this character Arachne who she's the main character
She
of
is
the
the
whole
main
thing.
character, right.
And the way that Harvey Dent was the main character of The Dark Knight, and he was, she's the main character of this.
Yeah.
She sews his costume. He just randomly.
Oh yeah.
She gives him the costume. Yeah, Uncle Ben gets hit by a fucking car.
Just walking
Now-
across the street.
Now here's the thing about this is that in the play, Flash Thompson gets his car stolen,
Right.
and Spider-Man won't help him because he hates Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
You like that?
in itself
Uh-huh.
was interesting. I know it was completely inaccurate, but the idea of it being one of the bullies that picked on him
Right.
that he refuses to help, that there is some Peter Parker in there.
Yeah.
So he
That
goes from
makes-
0 to Spider-Man like right after he gets bit, or
Yeah, well, he doesn't
Pretty quickly.
He
Well, yeah,
just-
there's a song or
Does
two
he
in
even
there.
stop the car? Or there's no confrontation.
No, there's no
with the-
confrontation. The car just speeds away. I agree with you, Mike. If that scene wasn't 30 seconds long,
Yeah, it's horrible.
it literally was a 30-second
And that the car
scene.
wasn't made of paper mache.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
No, but now another thing is all they show of Uncle Ben before he dies, and is with him and Aunt May, and they're just yelling at Peter.
Yeah.
like there's no warmth there.
Right.
Based on the musical, you wouldn't know that he cares about these people at all.
Yeah.
The only thing he says to him is, "You are not my father," and then car.
Right.
And that's all Uncle Ben does.
Ben doesn't say that, with great power comes great responsibility.
I'm gonna
none of that.
Momentary sidetrack. I was walking around Bushwick and I saw in a bodega window the new catchphrase for Coors beer to discourage drunk driving is "With great beer comes great responsibility."
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Continue. Now that we're just
Jeez.
regretting Uncle Ben.
Yeah, and alcoholism.
Stan Lee should kill himself just so he can spin in his grave.
I was saying to my girlfriend last night who bought me the tickets for my birthday. So,
what a-
thanks, Adina. She probably
Lift us up where we belong.
for $90.
Yeah.
You can see something that sucks.
That's what we do. If you feel like singing impromptu song parodies, go
Yeah.
for it.
You got it. You
Yeah,
got it.
but So what was I saying?
We were talking about so Uncle Ben's dead. So basically, Arachne, being the main protagonist, she is responsible for the creation of Spider-Man. She makes the spider bite him for somehow. I caught.
Yeah, she causes. It's so
she
weird.
gives him the costume, and
she's got some curse, but none of it is explained.
None of it's explained.
Well, what I was saying was about Stan Lee was I was saying to Adina, like, the only way that the whole thing could have been redeemed is at the end they have like when they're doing the curtain call.
Yeah.
8 Spider-Man come out and they all take their mask out and take bows and. If one of them was Stan Lee, that would have made and then he's just like, did you like it?
Yeah.
It was good, right?
That's his cameo.
Right?
I have another question for you guys.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in your seats in a big, very expensive theater, surrounded by high society.
Yeah.
The music, the overture starts, the curtains rise. At what was the exact moment for each of you that you realized you were watching a train wreck? Or not a train, maybe just like, oh, something's wrong.
I'd say like within the first 5 minutes. I mean, here's the thing about it is that
the Greek chorus, I think, was weird.
The Greek chorus. I mean, that was fine. I was like, okay, I'm going along with this, but is it bad? Yes. I'm glad I saw it.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm definitely glad that I saw it. It was fun, but now the thing is, it wasn't so bad as for me to wish there wasn't a Spider-Man musical. I just wish there was a better one because there's enough moments in it where you're like, this could have been something.
Oh, there's some really cool moments, especially with the wire work.
Were you in the balcony? I was in the balcony.
No, I was down.
So you got to see now. I was in the balcony, and there are several times in the. By the way, so the plot. He ends up fighting Green Goblin, and that's the end of Act 1.
Yeah,
and they soar above. Like all the audience.
That was a cool fight, yeah.
And Spidey's on top of Green Goblin. He's hitting him and stuff.
Wow.
And by the way, so Green Goblin in this, we're going to be a little over the place.
Right. It's just like the show.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's tough to do a linear
description. This cost $65 million, this podcast. We are all hanging.
In a way.
Yeah. We are all hanging in suspension right now. But so Green Goblin, his origin is that him and his wife Emily Osborn, the military does there's like this military rap called "Pull the Trigger."
Pull the trigger, right?
Where they tell them, like, gotta pull the trigger, pull the trigger.
Yeah, where they step around like Nazis.
Yeah, they do like goose stepping dances and stuff.
Jake's just melting into a puddle.
That's not your iPods scrambling. That's Jake's mournfulness,
soul leaking out.
Yeah, so they're like, you got to hurry up with this thing. And he's like, I'm going to be bad myself. Because the military guys are mad that there's a Spider-Man out there.
Right.
And Osborn knows that it's his technology. So he gets into this machine, and it gives him, like, bat and scorpion and rattlesnake DNA.
Yeah.
And so he's like this, like reptilian
hybrid
flying creature. He's got, like, butterfly wings.
It's really weird.
Yeah, and still the southern accent. Oh, I'm just green with envy.
Did you catch his "Where did they get a load of me" line when he transforms? Right before, his last line as he's coming out and his wife dies in the explosion and he's finally turned evil. He goes, "I'll give him something to complain about." I was like, okay, that's
what your Latvian super says. That is
right. Exactly. That's your mantra as a supervillain. Is that you want people to be annoyed?
I'll give them something to Didn't Monique yell that at Precious?
I'm surprised he didn't say fetch.
Yeah. I'll mildly irritate this city.
Yeah, and
he does.
And so that's the end of Act 1 is, he beats them by because he throws a piano and Spider-Man webs the piano to Osborn's leg.
This is all on stage.
Yeah. Well, Osborn comes out playing a piano.
On the top of the Chrysler Building.
Yeah, that's on the top of the...
That's pretty cool.
That got a good reaction from the crowd.
And so that's the end of Act 1.
Right.
And I remember, I'm sitting there with Adina, and she's like, well, the second act is always better. Like, if, the wire work was amazing in Act 1, and it was, she's like, imagine how great it's going to be. And then there's barely any.
There's none. Well, the first act wraps
Arachne
up...
comes into the crowd once, and then Peter like comes into the crowd.
Well, usually at the end of Act 1, there's still something unresolved. Like, why is there an Act 2? But the first act just wraps up tight. He saves Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Green Goblin's dead, and he's the hero. And Act 1, you're like, what could they do next? There's no
so
questions
it really
left
feels
unanswered.
like two plays.
Exactly.
And I will say that the first act is supremely better than the second one.
Yeah, the first
and there's
act
some
was
fun
great.
moments in the first act. There's a great moment, and I think it's when he gets his powers, like the way that he fights all the bullies, and the way that he does like the whole like Matrixy thing of like bending backwards. Like there's a scene where like there's two bullies on the floor. And then there's two bullies coming to fight him, and the bullies on the floor have him by the legs, so he's bending one way and then another to show his spider sense.
Is there wires, or is it just he's a really good dancer?
It's just great footwork.
Yeah, they just use like guys in black costumes to kind of like help him out and move around the stage.
That's
cool.
Someone
cool
does like a kick and he bends back,
Yeah.
and that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
Like that was a really fun moment. And then it's just there's one of the weird things is that. Like when he like saves these different people, but they're wearing like these big masks.
Turning into Dick Tracy all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, like when he fights Crusher, it's Crusher Hogan in the comics, but in the movie and in this, it's Bonesaw McGraw. It's a blow-up doll. He's in a wrestling ring fighting a blow-up doll.
Yeah.
I'm guessing in the director's mind to suggest the physical intimidation,
right?
And how. No, it's just weird choice.
Choice.
I mean, the point is that you could spin them and throw them around, but it's still a weird choice.
Can I interrupt here? During this
course.
match with Bonesaw, where he's fighting the big balloon, this is where an example of one of the things I hated most about the show was the egregious shoehorning of U2 references into the show.
He's having a Sunday, bloody Sunday out there.
Yeah, and that was just one of like the half a dozen ones
because
I counted.
tonight they could be as one. Tonight,
exactly. Spider-Man, I'm going to take this city with or without you.
He's knocking them back to where the streets have no name.
Yeah, there was that.
Why don't they just put signs on the streets? Then they would have names.
Hold me, thrill me, kiss me, kill me. Oh, wait, wrong. Oh God, the universe just imploded.
Yeah.
Crossover. I could not forgive that, Mike. That was like a slap in the face.
Yeah,
It felt like a Pepsi commercial.
Well, they go to like a party and Vertigo's playing later.
Oh, yeah,
we
right.
get to hear Bono say "Catorce," which is always nice. Yeah. Now, so then the second act, they start off. They're talking about like how he still hasn't fought his most powerful villain yet.
Yeah.
And all the kids are like, is it Carnage? Is it Swarm? Swarm's in it in the worst costume ever. Electro has a really bad costume.
Really? They couldn't pull off a Nazi made of bees for the Broadway stage?
No, Fritz von Meyer does not get through it unscathed. But anyway, so they're talking and they're like, well, why don't we see the villains in the beauty pageant? And then one of the kids goes, but villains are ugly. Let's have an ugly pageant.
Yeah.
And the villains all come out.
Later, guys.
There goes Jake, walking to the ledge.
Yeah.
If that door could slam right, it would be an amazing...
I don't know why, but I imagine like what Jake does after this is, remember the Simpsons with the souls?
Yeah.
The paddles. Like Jake is just like doing the boat with no paddles.
Yeah, no, right. And everybody else is
by himself.
So that's literally how they
feel.
set up the Sinister Six with a beauty pageant.
An ugly pageant.
And
ugly
then the
pageant.
one girl goes, "What about Swiss Miss?" They're like, "Who's that?" She's like, "I made her up."
Yep.
And I actually, the design was pretty cool on that.
Right. I was hoping it was going to be a hot chocolate villain when I heard Swiss Miss. Like I was hoping they should splash hot chocolate in their faces.
Marshmallow bombs.
Yeah.
Really, whenever I heard there was someone called Swiss Miss, all I could imagine is a woman in a gigantic marshmallow costume.
Exactly.
That's it.
No, she was a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
She had like corkscrews coming out of the head and then blades for hands, that was kind of cool.
Sure.
And then Craven is in it.
Carnage.
Lizard, yeah, Carnage. It's like stuff like that, and it's so random.
Yeah.
So then the Green Goblin comes in with them,
He's
and it turns
returned.
out it's all an illusion of Arachnes.
Yes, she has brought the Sinister Six back.
I'm sorry.
She's brought Green Goblin back, and it's all a plot. Basically, it's all so that Spider-Man will take up the mantle again, defeat them, and then help her escape from some alternate dimension she's been trapped in since Athena trapped her in there in Greek times, right? That was her want. She wanted to escape this alternate dimension, so she needed Spider-Man's help.
Now here's the thing about all this is that I actually, before coming in today, knowing I was going to have to talk about it, I had to look up the plot on Wikipedia to make sure
you got it.
That because I still didn't get it. A lot of the stuff, and so there's a scene where Arachne goes to a shoe store with her Furies, who are these other spider women, and they just steal a bunch of shoes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there's a few scenes.
I know.
There's a few scenes in the Bugle.
Spider women be shopping.
Yeah, there's a few scenes in the Bugle, and I will say this: James Jonah Jameson did not sing.
Yeah,
he just did an impression of J.K. Simmons the entire time.
Not even. I thought he was horrible, man.
He was fine. Bad. I mean, the dialogue was bad. I mean, that was the thing about this thing was that it clearly bombed in front of the audience. None of the laugh lines got laughed.
You can't blame the actors. Actually, Jason, you actually saw it when there was a malfunction.
Right.
And also, Mike, I want to know this. The intermission, the before the curtain, while there were breaks or were there any technical errors? By the way,
were there?
Not that I can notice.
That's pretty.
There weren't. I mean, it ended and everything.
They're working it out.
I will say this though, I think that knowing the whole technical errors history and the guy falling and all that, it did add suspense to the show. When Spider-Man is on top of the Goblin's harness and it's wobbling and stuff, I was terrified.
Yeah, it really added a lot to it. Exactly, and I think that's why people want to go see it. Is for that cool acrobatics.
Then, and I mean, most of the audience that was in my immediate vicinity, did not speak English. It's gonna really. I mean, it's Spider-Man, but it's also Times Square.
Right.
And you have to think who goes there.
It's Cirque du Soleil,
and there's a lot of kids there.
I feel that kids and people that don't speak English very well would have been very confused during that second act.
Yeah, I mean, I was.
Right.
So was there any overheard audience moments or any interaction with the crowd that you, anything?
Well, during my show, there was 2 technical holds. And the technical director, every time he got on mic...
So is that like a suplex or a cross-faced chicken wing?
Yeah, it was a figure 4 in the momentum of the show. But every time...
Cobra Clutch on your motherfucking ass! You piece of shit, Judy Taymor! I fuck you! I fuck you hard!
He would add it so much. If he was wrestling in that instead of the inflatable balloon, that'd be so. But
Peter Parker, you faggots! Like Brian Blair!
What are you
piece
referencing?
Of shit!
I am so scared right now. What are you referencing?
The Iron Sheik.
Iron Sheik, baby. I break your ass like Bob Backlund, Madison Square Garden. I put faggot in camel clutch.
Camel
clutch. Every time the technical director, he would get on the mic and go, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to hold for 2 minutes for a everyone went ape shit. They loved it. That's why I feel like that's why people are going is to see that.
Literally,
I didn't like it as much.
People were standing up, it's a technical hold. This is what I came for, to see fuck-ups.
When we left yesterday, it was just nobody died. Nobody died. I mean, it was this is what when we left, I was being kind of a smartass.
Sure.
But all these, it was all the people in that I heard leaving were these older gay theater snobs. What a disaster that was. Yeah. Oh my God, what a mess. And I just kept saying out loud, I was like, really? You mean the thing that you knew wasn't going to be good wasn't good? You mean the thing you saw just to see it failed? You got
to go into the right expectations. I went to go see Snakes on a Plane, had a great time because I knew it was going to be a shitty, dumb movie.
Yeah, I wanted a spectacle, and I got a spectacle.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I also saw The Addams Family this week, which is not very good as well. Yeah. But after seeing Spider-Man, it was Tony Award-winning, man. I feel like if you have something horrible you have to go see Spider-Man first, and then whatever it is, it'll seem much better. Decent comparison.
Getting my wisdom teeth out. Better go see Spider-Man first.
And one last thing we can talk about quickly. the music was really bad.
It was unmemorable.
And you notice that we talked about this musical for like 20 minutes or so, and not a single mention of the songs.
I felt like we should just mention it just a little bit. Because, I mean, because here's the excuse that people are making now that are doing the show, that are putting it on like, hey, this is a preview performance, and this isn't indicative of what the final show is going to be like, and whatever. The music's going to stay the same. The book is going to stay the same. These are what I have the most problems with. Right. The music is just so bland. It's not even like cheesy. I mean, it is at times, but it's just bad.
It's just bad.
The humor is bad.
U2 rock,
Like James Jonah Jameson does 3 different references to the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
Winking at you the whole time. I mean, the music is just like... It's empty. Like, you can't... Like, I had one song stuck in my head for a little bit.
Maybe.
But it's like, you think, like, when you go to Les Mis, Master of the House, Rand 520,
no,
it's like this catchy,
nothing hooked
like,
in my
show
mind.
tuning.
Nothing stuck.
He had it coming, Chicago, like, that kind of fun stuff. And there's none of that. Like, this was clearly... I mean... U2 is clearly just doing this for the paycheck, and that's
Julie.
fine. Hopefully it'll go to Africans. Julie wasn't. I don't think she was.
She said in interviews that she wasn't a Spider-Man fan, essentially.
Yeah, but she did
it because Bono asked her to.
But she put, but it's obviously she's put enough. Like, it's such a...
And when Bono says jump, you say, how pretentious.
But here's the thing. It's such a failure that that the person that made these decisions believed in all of them.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much worse. It's not phoned in.
Right.
It's like she had this passion. I mean, the idea that there's Swarm and Carnage and Lizard and Kraven, I think she read 10 different Spider-Man issues from the past, almost 50 years and said, that's what we're going to do. Had no real thought, saw the movies.
Yeah, there's a lot taken from the movies.
Hodgepodge, but there is thought behind it.
Yeah, it's just not thought from a fan.
Yeah, and
it's just not from someone.
Well, you know what? I think the way you mentioned Arachne and all that stuff, I think she kind of was just like, I don't care about Spider-Man. And then she was like, what about Spider-Man would I like to see?
That's exactly.
And the idea of a spider myth.
Yeah.
It's very liberal arts kind of.
But we were saying there are these visually, like the Arachne thing, like where the girls are like coming down on the drapes and stuff.
Yeah, with their shoes.
So in conclusion, I'd say if you have this curiosity to see it, it's gonna be what you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's. Is it a bad musical? Absolutely. Sure. Is it a train wreck? Yes.
Is it a cool Cirque du Soleil? Yeah. And the acrobats and the wire work is really great. And the set changes, which we're going to talk about, were fantastic. I mean, the whole thing
great.
Looked
all the
great.
techno stuff. I mean, $65 million it should be.
Right.
But I'll just end on this. If you liked Batman and Robin, even if as you're hating it, I won't even say like
if you're out there.
If you enjoyed Batman, if you enjoyed watching something be that over the top, cheesy and gay and lame and shitty,
right,
then this is for you. If you just watch something like Batman and Robin, like, God damn it, this fucking sucks, and everyone wants to see this again, then don't see this. But if you like camp, if you like, if you want to see, a barren theater woman's interpretation of Spider-Man.
Wow.
Yeah.
See this.
Go. If that's what you look for.
By the way, little known Spider-Man villain.
Barren. Here's my final thought. Okay. I think it was. It's sad to see something obviously you like as a fan be not not done well. I mean we see it all the time. We should be used to this type of shit.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame that with such the resources and everything that they couldn't get the essence of Spider-Man right.
Yeah.
That they totally missed.
He's still not funny, which the movies did
totally
too. They
missed
totally
the ball,
Spider-Man,
and they're showing a whole world of audience that hey, come see a shit show.
Yeah.
Instead of come see the reason why Spider-Man is one of the most iconic characters in comic book history and in America. They're showing an audience the wrong reasons to come, and that's what I don't like about the show. But like Mike said, if you go in with the right attitude, you'll have fun. Go get cheap tickets, that's for sure.
Yeah,
get the hook up.
Yeah, unless I honestly, after talking to you guys, like the only reasons I go to a musical are the story and the songs. Like if they both fit. I
Right.
won't. I even for the spectacle, I don't think I'd pay $90 for it.
So
after
that's
hearing all
that.
this.
That's that, man. That's Spider-Man. May it run 1,000 more years.
so that it may finally make a profit.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's been this week's Nerd of Mouth. We'll be back soon. I'm Mike Lawrence.
I'm Jake Young.
And I'm Jason Sines. Thanks for having me, boys.
Marcus
thanks a
Parks,
lot.
man of the ones and twos.
Oh yeah.
And
Excelsior.
there's that.